Say hey to Pete. Wave to Pete. Hey Facebook. It looks like everybody's on here. He couldn't wait to make his debut. So while I'm waiting on a few more people to join, this is Pete. This is our newest office kitty. Pete, can you say hello? He is kind of terrorizing me this morning as I'm getting ready for this. I've kind of got this, I know you guys can't see what's going on, but I kind of have a contraption here so I can talk to Facebook, talk to Instagram, and it's all very precariously situated. What does Pete stop? Oh my gosh. Dude, what are you doing? Oh my gosh. Okay. So, in case you missed that, somebody decided to go all crazy. You're hamming this up for the camera. Like, I swear to God, I did not get him all excited about this, but he's like, okay, this is my first live. Let's make this good. Okay, dude, pay attention what you're doing, right? Okay, might have to get him out of the office while I do this. You guys warn me if he's getting ready to do something crazy, right? Okay, Pete, stop. Pete, okay, you know what, Pete? Okay, everybody say goodbye to Pete. Dude, I can't. Here, I'm going to give him, he's got a toy eagle he likes to play with, so we're going to give him the eagle, okay? Pete, here you go, ready? And there we go. Okay. All right. For those of you who joined me for my last live, you know, it's just me and cats, and so Fred joined me last time, and so that was a ton of fun. Fred's a little more, like, laid back. He's done it before, you know, kind of like that. Pete apparently needs a little more training. So, thanks everyone for joining me today. I'm here with you for the next 27 minutes, and I just want to talk to you a little bit about things or questions you should be asking before you buy a resin. So if you hang in with me till the end, I've got something special to share with you. If you are watching this later, or you can't make this live, or you can't stay for the whole thing, if you're on Facebook, come back over to the page later. The recording will be saved. And if you're on Instagram, this is saved for the next 24 hours. Either way, if I don't get to your questions, Facebook feed, you can leave it as a question below this video, and I'll do my best to get them answered. Facebook, you know, you can private message me a question or come over to our Facebook page and leave it there, and I'll also get a and I'll also get this posted to YouTube later. So I see everybody joining in and waving. I see we have someone from Quebec. We have a fellow Floridian. So for those of you who don't know, here in Florida we've had rain almost every day for the last 10 days, and we're all kind of freaked out by it, okay? It's just like day in and day out. But my grass is loving it. And, you know, it keeps everything, at least keeps stuff growing and makes it feel not quite as hot, even though we all kind of get sunshine. So somebody's saying they can't get sound. Okay, it looks like, can you hear me? Can somebody give me a hands up? Oh, how sweet. Somebody said that I am the sunshine. I like that. I need to screenshot that and use that later. Okay, all right, so we got some sound, we've got pictures, we've got our distractions out of the way. So let's talk a little bit about resin, and stay till the end. If you can stay till the end, I've got something to share with you. So, hey everyone, gosh, I love seeing all these people joining in, so great. So I want to take a moment, I've got some notes here on my screen for me to follow, but basically, what I want to do is I want to take the next few minutes and talk to you guys about the 10 questions I wish you would ask before you purchase a resin. Nothing hurts worse than for me to get an email from a customer that they got their resin to make XYZ, and it didn't turn out as they had hoped, and only to find out they picked the wrong resin. They didn't ask the right questions. And I understand a lot of it is you don't know what questions to ask, or you've never worked with resin before, so why would you know to ask some of these questions I'm going to bring up? So that's kind of why I'm here, and want everyone to, you know, ask questions, kind of follow along and all that. And so hi to everyone. Gosh, I'm loving seeing all the comments. I've got people around the world. Some of you are staying up kind of late. Some of you are into happy hour. Some of you maybe are getting up early and enjoying your coffee, which that's crazy, you know, that you get up and want to listen to me. So anyway, hey Aaron, thanks for joining in. And what on the earth is resin? Gosh, so we could talk about that for a long time, couldn't we? So, okay. All right, so let's start with the first question I want everyone to ask, and that is, I want to make blank. Will this resin work for this? Okay, so if you are working with a really good retailer, or you can get in touch with the manufacturer, that company should be able to tell you, yes, you can make this with this product, or no, you should not make this with this product. And I say that because there is no one size all fits resin, okay? No one size all fits resin, okay? I'm going to give you like an example, all right? So while you could use a Mini Cooper to move your stuff cross country from like New York to San Francisco, probably not the best way to do that, right? Maybe rent a U-Haul. But if you're going to live in New York City, a Mini Cooper is probably great for getting around and getting into tight parking spaces and stuff like that. Resin is no different, okay? So for example, I'll take the super clear resin, that's ours that we sell. Could you use the super clear resin to coat artwork? Yes, but I don't recommend it. That's not what it's designed for. You would have to do all kinds of stuff to your artwork and this and that and the other and do some different things with your mixing. Just don't, okay? So if you are to ask me, I want to coat my artwork with resin, can I use the super clear resin to do that? I'm going to tell you no. Theoretically you can, but I wouldn't do it, so I'm not going to recommend anyone else do it, okay? And it's, you know, there's other things, like, for example, you know, people want to talk about, you know, they want to use a good doming resin, or they want to create a glassy domed finish on pendants. Can I use a polyester resin to do that? No, you are not going to get the finish you want, okay? So when you're looking at a resin and you're talking to the manufacturer and you're trying to decide if this is what you want, just blatantly ask, I want to make, will this resin work for this? And someone should be able to tell you yes or no. Might be a few exceptions, but it should be a fairly straightforward answer, okay? All right. Along this line, I see a few questions popping in. I will do my best to kind of get to them during the discussion if it kind of flows with the discussion. Otherwise, if it doesn't, like I see Sally Ashley has a question. If not, I'll try and get to your question when I'm done after the talk, okay? All right, so second thing that you need to ask, what is the pot time, cure time, minimum and maximum mixing amounts for the resin you want to use, okay? So what are those numbers and why are they important? Pot time, that's the amount of time once you've mixed the two components together that you have to use it or lose it, essentially, okay? And these numbers aren't necessarily clearly noted on the package, just because, you know, there's so much information we have to legally put on a package that to put on everything you could possibly need to know about a resin is almost impossible. So sometimes these numbers always don't make it on a package. So that's why, you know, I want to make you aware of it, and that's why, you know, you can make a point to ask, okay? So pot time is how long you have to work with the resin once the two components are mixed together. Cure time, that's the amount of time that once you mix it and use it, so as a coating, you know, in your pendants, in your molds, whatever, that you then have to wait before it's fully cured and you can demold it or put your finger on it or whatever you need to do with it, okay? Minimum and maximum mixing amounts, the reason those are important is because when you mix resin and hardener together, you have to have a minimum amount to mix together for the chemical reaction to occur to get enough heat produced so that the mixture solidifies. If you don't mix the minimum, it's not going to get hard. You're just going to have a soupy mess. It's going to stay gooey. It may not cure all the way. So you need to know the minimum mixing amount, okay? Maximum mixing amount is important because there is something like too much of a good thing, okay? So if you mix too much at once, what's going to happen is it's going to seize up in your cup and you're going to be like, what the heck is going on here? It might smoke. It's going to melt your cup. It could do all kinds of crazy things, and you're not going to get it poured or used before it starts to cure, okay? So cure time, pot time, minimum mixing amount, and maximum mixing amount. You need to know all four of those. And if you're going to purchase resin at resinobsession.com, we have that information for you. I'll be sure to include a link to the resins we sell, and we've got all that in a handy dandy little sheet of PDF where you can compare the different resins, and that way you're always comparing apples to apples, and you know what to expect, okay? All right, let me check my time here. All right, we're doing good. We got about 12 minutes left. So, third question you need to ask is, what is the shelf life of this resin, okay? Very, very, very important. And the reason is my rule is when it comes to purchasing a resin is I only buy enough that I can comfortably use in half of the shelf life, okay? So as a general rule, epoxies have a 12-month shelf life. Polyesters have a 6-month shelf life. Polyurethanes have a 3-month shelf life, okay? So for example, if I'm working with epoxies and I know they got a 12-month shelf life, I generally only buy enough to use within 6 months. Because what happens, you know, you come up on 6 months and are you going to throw it away? No, of course not. And I don't recommend you throw it away. But that way you've got like a little wiggle time before your stuff maybe either starts to turn yellow, or in the case of polyesters and polyurethanes, they'll just go solid on you. So it's very important that you know the shelf life of your resin. Now, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't also be careful about how you store it, and I like to make sure it stays, you know, in the bottom of a closet, out of direct sunlight, away from temperature swings and that kind of thing. But you need to know the shelf life so that way you can kind of plan and you don't over purchase or under purchase for the amount of time that you need. So, okay. All right, I see more people joining us. Thanks for joining in. So we've gone through our first 3 things already about I want to make X. Will this resin work for this? Number 2, what is the pot time, cure time, minimum and maximum mixing amounts? Say that really fast. Number 3, what is the shelf life of the resin? Okay. All right, number 4. This is also a pretty important question. Is there anything I should not do with this resin? Okay. All right, so this kind of goes back to there is no one size fits all resin, okay? You might find out that some resins that are great for doming mix too thick to be successfully used in molds, okay? So the reason resins will dome is because they have a higher surface tension and they mix thick so that way they stay on a surface in a nice dome. Some of those resins can be a little difficult to use in really intricate molds with lots of undercuts and curves and waves and that kind of thing, and you're going to have a hard time getting out the bubbles, okay? So you need to ask, is there anything you should not do with this resin, okay? All right. Anybody who's knowledgeable about the resin and what they're selling should be able to answer those questions for you, okay? All right. Question number 5. This is a question I wish everybody would ask me. All you first timers out there, please ask me this question before you buy it. Please. Is this resin appropriate for my skill level? Okay. Really, really, really important question. Okay. I want you to be successful with your resin, okay? And I understand sometimes, you know, I'm talking to you guys and I write blog posts and I know some of you come away going, oh my God, I don't want to do resin. I just listen to this woman and I'm scared of trying. And I'm not trying to scare you. I swear I'm not trying to scare you, but I kind of feel like I want you to go in with the expectation that this is going to be kind of hard and I need to learn this and I need to learn that and I need to be ready. And that way when you get it done, you're like, oh, well, that wasn't so bad. That's my best hope. Versus, oh yeah, you just mix the 2 parts together and you put it on the stuff and then it gets hard and you got like, you know, this project. No. Oh gosh, no. So there are certain resins that I do not recommend for beginners, okay? Polyester resins, don't recommend them for beginners. They're horrible in terms of like you have to know how you're going to cast, so you know how much hardener to add. It can get very overwhelming and very confusing. Do not recommend polyesters for beginners. And poor Rebecca. I see Rebecca over here on Facebook saying that she used an entire gallon learning. Yeah, and I've been there. I know I'm sitting here talking about all this stuff, and you guys maybe think I was just born with all this resin knowledge. Oh, let me tell you, I have made a ton of mistakes, and I still make mistakes, okay? Embrace them. as your learning opportunities. I've learned more from my mistakes than my successes. So if that's any consolation. Also, when it comes to resin, polyurethanes are not something I recommend for beginners. Polyurethanes are very fussy with moisture. Some of them cure very quickly, and if you saw one of my lives here a couple of months ago, I'm mixing polyurethane live in front of everybody to harden before I could get it in the mold. Okay, I'm too busy, and so I didn't get a chance to get it cast. Okay, so please, if you're getting ready to purchase a resin, whether it's from us or from anybody else, just ask, is this resin appropriate for my skill level? Okay, very, very, very important question. Okay, next question. Question number 6. Do you have a small quantity I can purchase first? Okay, now, I get that you people want a bargain. Who doesn't love a good bargain? And I get that you want to, shipping can be expensive, and you've got plans to resin a bunch of paintings, or you've got plans to make a bunch of pendants, and you don't want to have to worry about stopping and reordering and all that. Please, please, please buy a small quantity first. Make sure that this resin that you're thinking is going to work really is going to work. And even if you've had experience with resin, I know when I use a new resin for the first time, I'm only getting a small quantity to try. Nothing hurts worse than buying a large quantity of a resin only to realize that, okay, this isn't going to work out. Working with this resin is harder than I thought it was going to be, or it's not. It just, some of the other intricacies of the resin just aren't working out for what you want to do. It's easier to have smaller quantities sitting there that you're not going to go and use versus really large bottles that you're like, oh. Right? That hurts. Okay, so start with a small quantity, make sure you fall in love with this resin, and then buy a larger quantity. Okay? All right, perfect. Let me do a little time check, see where we're at. Okay, we've got 11 more minutes, so I'm gonna get through these. Remember, if you stay here for a few more minutes, I do have something special to share with you at the end, so hang in there. We've got 11 more minutes to talk. Okay, let me get a sip. My throat's getting a little dry. Hang tight. Okay, so next question, or the next question I wish you would ask. Here we go. And this is a little technical jargon, and hang there with me because I need a little leeway to explain this one to you. You need to ask, does this resin conform to ASTM D4236? Okay, so if you're here in the U.S., it applies to you. If you're outside the U.S., it's not probably as important to you, but the concepts are important, okay? So the reason ASTM D4236 is important is that is where any product that is sold to you or marketed to you for art purposes is supposed to be reviewed by a toxicologist to ensure that you can use it for art purposes and that it is safe. Okay, and what happens is, I don't look at it, it's not anybody here that works for me, that looks at these, but it's a third-party toxicologist who looks at the product, looks at the ingredients, and deems that it's safe for use at home, use at school, or use anywhere in between, and they make recommendations on how to use the product safely, and then it gets this certified ASTM D4236 and all that. Okay. So the reason this is important is there are I know lots of you use other resins, or maybe use resins that we don't sell. If the resin is being marketed as an art purpose resin, okay, so i.e. it's meant for you to, use for jewelry or use for your artwork, it has to be certified. And if someone's trying to sell it to you, and for art purposes, and they don't have this certification, not only is it a violation of the law, okay, it's a violation of U.S. law, they can't tell you if the product is safe to use, okay? So this is very, very important. Above all else, I want you guys to be able to use resin for a really, really long time, and this certification is important to make sure that you can use it safely, okay? All right, so along that, let's segue into number 8, which is, you need to ask the retailer or the manufacturer, can you provide me with a safety data sheet for this resin? Okay, So this same toxicologist or same toxicology firm, when they're reviewing it for the ASTM certification, can also help generate a safety data sheet. Now, if if you're like me, sometimes you look at these safety data sheets and your eyes glaze over and you're like, oh dear goodness. And I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of techno mumbo jumbo in there, and there's a lot of stuff that, unless you're selling the resin or manufacturing the resin, it's just not important to anybody else. However, there are a few things in there that are important, okay? One of those being how to safely handle the product. 2, how to properly dispose of the product. So let's just decide you're moving, you can't take your resin with you. You know, how are you going to get rid of these bottles of resin? And the safety data sheet will tell you that. You know, heaven forbid you have a problem, you have a concern, you know, you spilled it on yourself, you know, accidentally ingested some or whatever. That safety data sheet is going to you know, tell you what you need to do right away in terms of medical measures, and it's going to, you know, give you a number for a chemical safety poison control type center. Okay, all right. And once again, this is also my little soapbox moment on keeping you guys safe. If you're working with a resin and the manufacturer does not want to give you the safety data sheet, then this is my soapbox moment. Either they haven't done their due diligence to get that information together, okay, or they've got something to hide. Okay, safety data sheets are very important, and if somebody can't provide that to you, then that's a big red flag to me. And my personal feeling is I would never ever use a resin where I could not read the safety data sheet first. Enough said. Okay, all right. So we've got 7 more minutes. Let me go through the last 2 things. So we've talked about 8 things so far. Let's review them. Number 1, I want to make X. Will this resin work for this? Number 2, what are the pot time, cure time, minimum, and maximum? God, why am I having a hard time with that word today? Mixing amounts for this resin. Number 3, what is the shelf life of this resin? Number 4, is there anything I should not do with this resin? Number 5, is this resin appropriate for my skill level? Number 6, do you have a small quantity I can purchase first? Number 7, does this resin conform to ASTM D4236? Number 8, can you provide me with a safety data sheet for this resin? Okay, so that brings us to number 9. Okay, and this is specifically when you're talking with a knowledgeable retailer or a manufacturer. Number 9, what would you like me to know about this resin? Okay, and the reason I find that's important is because if somebody, especially a manufacturer, if they've worked with their product any amount of time, they'll know the quirks. Okay, they'll know, they should be able to give you basically, you know, their hacks on how to have the best success with their resin. They, you know, hopefully they can tell you, you know, you might have some kind of weird question about, well, can I color it with bile acids, or can I color it with toothpaste, or, you know, that kind of thing. And lots of times, you know, we manufacturers, we kind of, you know, do some weird stuff with our products because that's kind of the fun stuff we like to do. And so, you know, a manufacturer or a good retailer should be able to tell you that kind of stuff. So if there's something about the resin that, you know, I want you to know, you know, if you're like, hey, I'm interested in this resin, what should I know? I'm going to tell you, you know, and sometimes it's, you know, it's like, hey, this can happen, so be aware of this. Or this might happen, so I wouldn't use it here. But a good retailer is going to let you know that kind of stuff, okay? All right, and then the last question, which I think this is fun, and I love asking this to other people I know that work a lot with resin too. Question number 10, how do you use this resin, okay? So especially for a company like Resin Obsession where we sell a lot of resins, I've actually done a blog post on this where you're in my studio and I've got all these resins at my disposal. Here's how I like to use them. And that'll give you some insight as well in terms of, okay, I'm following her logic here and I'm trying to, you know, kind of figure out what's going on. And, you know, I'm thinking about doing this project, but wait a minute, she uses this. And then anyway, that's something that, especially when you're first looking at resins and you're looking at all the choices and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do here? Ask that retailer or manufacturer, how do you use this resin? okay? And that's where you can really learn a lot about the best time to use a product, not to use a product, and that kind of thing. So these are the 10 questions that I wish you guys would ask me before you bought a resin. I know it's a lot. It might be overload. And you know what? If you only ask 2 or 3, okay, fine. We're making progress. But anyway, I will link to a written blog post of all these questions so you guys can refer back to them. And if you're buying your Resin on Resin obsession, by all means, we are more than happy to answer these questions for you because we want you to totally kick butt when it comes to resin, okay? All right. So I've got 3 more minutes here. I promise not to run over on time. And so I thank you for staying here to the end. Once again, Instagram, if I don't get to your question, you can private message me later, or you can pop over to our Facebook page. Facebook, if you're watching and I didn't get to your question, by all means, type it here in the comments below and I'll see if I can't get to it. Okay, so for everyone who's had a chance to hang in today, thanks so much. And I have a coupon code to share with you. Okay, now hang tight because I want to explain all the details before I give you the code so that way there's no misunderstanding later. All right, so today is May 23rd, 2018. This coupon code is good until tomorrow night, Thursday night, May 24th, 2018, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time, okay? So you've got a little more than a day to use this code, or the first 25 people who use it, okay? All right, so we got that. So it either expires tomorrow night, automatically expires tomorrow night at 11:59 p.m. Eastern, or the first 25 people who use it, okay? And that coupon code is 10% off any purchase of 3 molds or more, okay? So if you want to go 3 plastic molds, great. You want to go 3 silicone molds, great. You want to go 2 of one and 1 of the other, great. Buy 3 molds, okay? So mix and match, keep them all, whatever, and do that, okay? So your code, because we're coming up on a 3-day weekend here in the States, your code is HOLIDAY, HOLIDAY, okay? HOLIDAY. And that'll get you 10% off any purchase of 3 molds or more, okay, in our store. And you can find our store at shop.resinobsession.com. And there's a link on the left side of the page for molds. And we've got a bunch of plastic molds. We got a bunch of silicone molds. And if you get a moment, stop by our new section, because let me tell you, I just listed some new silicone molds yesterday. We and House of Molds got together and knocked one out of the park on 7 new bangle molds that are exclusive to Resin Obsession. Oh my gosh, are these beauties. So we're super excited to be working with them. So I hope everyone has a chance to stop in, and we've got just another minute. So I'm really happy everyone could take a chance to stop by today. And thanks everyone for sharing the nice comments. I hope everyone had a chance to enjoy our time together. And if you get a chance, pop on over to resinobsession.com. We've got more information like this, and we're happy to answer your questions. So, okay. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining in today, and let's do this again soon.